You're watching an English video right now, and you understand almost everything I'm saying. You know what I mean when I say frustrated or confidence or improvement. You can follow English movies. You can read English articles. You can understand English songs. But here's the problem. When someone asks you a question in English, you freeze. When you try to express your thoughts, the words just won't come out. You know the words exist in your head somewhere, but you can't find them when you need them. You're not alone. This is the biggest problem that English learners face around the world. You have thousands of English words in your head, but you can only use maybe 200 of them when you speak. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly why this happens, and more importantly, how to fix it. By the end of this video, you'll understand the difference between knowing a word and being able to use a word. And I'll show you some creative methods to wake up all those sleeping words in your brain. Let me start with a story that will explain everything. Imagine your brain is like a huge library. This library has 2 floors. The first floor is your recognition library. This is where you store all the words you can understand when you hear them or read them. This floor is probably huge. It might have 5,000 or even 10,000 English words. The second floor is your production library. This is where you keep the words you can actually use when you speak. For most English learners, this floor is very small. Maybe it only has 500 words. Here's the problem. When you're listening to English, you use your recognition library. All those words are available to help you understand. But when you're speaking English, you can only use your production library. And that library is much, much smaller. This is why you can understand a movie but struggle to tell your friend about the movie afterward. You used your big recognition library to understand the movie, but you need your small production library to talk about it. So the question is, how do you move words from your recognition library to your production library? How do you wake up all those sleeping words? Let me tell you about my student, Emma. Emma could understand English perfectly. She watched English TV shows without subtitles. She read English news articles. She understood complex podcasts about science and technology. But when Emma tried to speak, she sounded like a beginner. She used very simple words and basic grammar. She would say things like, "The movie was good," when she wanted to say, "The movie was fascinating and thought-provoking." Emma knew the words fascinating and thought-provoking. She understood them perfectly when she heard them. But these words were stuck in her recognition library. They never moved to her production library. Why does this happen? Because understanding a word and using a word require different types of brain activity. When you understand a word, your brain just needs to recognize it. But when you use a word, your brain needs to find it, choose it, and produce it quickly. It's like the difference between recognizing a person's face and remembering their name. You might recognize thousands of faces, but you can only remember the names of people you know well. Speaking English is much more difficult than understanding English. When you listen, you have time to think. If you miss a word, you can guess from context. If you don't understand a sentence, you can figure it out from the sentences around it. But when you speak, everything is different. You need to find the right words quickly. You need to put them in the right order. You need to say them with the right pronunciation. And you need to do all of this while thinking about what you want to say next. This is why your recognition library is so much bigger than your production library. Your brain finds it easy to store words for recognition, but it's much harder to organize words for production. Most English learners spend all their time building their recognition library. They watch videos, they read articles, they listen to podcasts, but they never work on their production library. So they understand more and more English, but their speaking doesn't improve. Now I'm going to show you some creative methods to move words from your recognition library to your production library. I call these word activation methods. The first method is called personal connection. Here's how it works. Take a word that you recognize but never use. Let's say the word is exhausted. You understand this word perfectly when you hear it, but you always say very tired instead. Now, think of 3 times in your life when you felt exhausted. Maybe after a long day at work, after exercising, after taking care of a sick child. Create specific memories connected to this word. Then, practice describing these memories using the word exhausted. Say out loud, "I was exhausted after working 12 hours yesterday. I felt exhausted after running for an hour. Taking care of my sick son made me exhausted." When you connect a word to your personal experiences, it becomes much easier to use. Your brain creates a bridge between the word and your memories. The second method is called emotional activation. Our brains remember words better when they're connected to emotions. If you learn a word in a neutral way, it stays in your recognition library. But if you learn it with strong emotions, it moves to your production library. Let's say you want to use the word disappointed. Instead of just memorizing the definition, think about a time when you felt really disappointed. Maybe you didn't get a job you wanted, or a friend canceled important plans. Feel that disappointment again. Then say, "I was so disappointed when I didn't get the job. I felt disappointed when my friend canceled our trip. The movie was disappointing because the ending was terrible." When you connect words to real emotions, they become part of your active vocabulary. You'll find yourself using these words naturally because they're connected to your feelings. The third method is called imaginary conversations. This is one of the most powerful ways to activate your passive vocabulary. Here's how it works. Think of someone you know well. Maybe it's your best friend, your family member, or your colleague. Now imagine having a conversation with this person in English. But here's the key. You must use specific words from your recognition library. For example, if you want to activate the word fascinating, imagine telling your friend about a fascinating book you read. Practice the conversation out loud. "Hey, I just read this fascinating book about space exploration. It was absolutely fascinating how they described life on Mars." Do this for 5 minutes every day with different words. Have imaginary conversations with different people. Use the words you want to activate in natural contexts. This method works because it simulates real conversation. Your brain practices finding and using these words under pressure, just like in real speaking situations. The fourth method is called word story creation. This is where you create short stories using words from your recognition library. The stories don't need to be realistic. They just need to be memorable. Let's say you want to activate the words magnificent, furious, and astonished. Create a story. The magnificent dragon was furious when the knight stole his treasure. The villagers were astonished when the dragon started crying instead of fighting. The more ridiculous the story, the better. Your brain remembers unusual and funny stories more easily. Practice telling these stories out loud. Record yourself if possible. Listen to your own stories and retell them. This method works because stories create context for words. Instead of learning isolated words, you learn how words work together in meaningful ways. The fifth method is called daily word replacement. This is a game you play with yourself every day. Choose one simple word that you use too often. Maybe it's good, bad, nice, rebis, or big. For 1 week, you're not allowed to use this word. Every time you want to say good, you must find a different word. Instead of good, you might say excellent, wonderful, fantastic, or impressive. This forces your brain to dig into your recognition library and find alternatives. At first, it will be difficult. You'll pause and think. But after a few days, these new words will start flowing naturally. Start with one word per week. After you master replacing one word, add another word to your forbidden list. Gradually, you'll train your brain to use more varied and interesting vocabulary. The sixth method is called active shadowing. Regular shadowing means repeating what you hear. But active shadowing is different. You listen to English content and repeat it, but you change some words. For example, if you hear, "The weather is beautiful today," you might say, "The weather is gorgeous today," or "The weather is spectacular today." You keep the same meaning but use different words from your recognition library. This method forces your brain to actively choose words instead of just copying them. It's like exercise for your production library. The more you practice, the stronger your word-finding muscles become. Remember, moving words from recognition to production doesn't happen overnight. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you have to think about every movement, but with practice, it becomes automatic. Be patient with yourself. Start with just a few words per week. Use these methods consistently. Don't try to activate hundreds of words at once. Focus on quality, not quantity. After a few weeks, you'll notice something amazing. Words that you could only understand before will start appearing in your conversations naturally. You won't even think about using them. They'll just come out automatically. Here's what happens when you successfully move words from recognition to production. Your speaking becomes more natural and interesting. Instead of saying, "I'm tired," you say, "I'm exhausted." Instead of "the movie was good," you say, "the movie was captivating." People will notice that your English sounds more native-like, not because your grammar is perfect, but because your word choices are more sophisticated and natural. More importantly, you'll feel more confident. You'll have more ways to express your thoughts and feelings. You won't feel stuck using the same basic words over and over again. So here's what I want you to do. Choose 5 words that you understand perfectly, but never use when you speak. Write them down. Over the next week, use each of the methods I showed you with these 5 words. Create personal connections. Connect them to emotions. Use them in imaginary conversations. Create stories with them. Replace simpler words with them. Practice active shadowing with them. Don't worry about using all the methods with all the words. Choose the methods that feel natural to you. The important thing is to start moving words from your recognition library to your production library. Remember, understanding English and speaking English are 2 different skills. You've already proven that you can understand English well. Now it's time to unlock all those words that are sleeping in your brain. Your recognition library is full of amazing words. They're just waiting to be activated. Use these creative methods to wake them up. With consistent practice, you'll transform from someone who understands English to someone who speaks English with confidence and variety. The words are already in your head. Now it's time to set them free. Thank you for watching, and remember, your speaking breakthrough is just a few activated words away.